Boulder on Lot 8 doesn't appear to have been manipulated by any of the known earlier searchers. There's nothing in the record, which means we might be dealing with something that we know is untampered with.
For more than 200 years, Oak Island has guarded a mystery so dangerous that some believe it was never meant to be solved. Treasure hunters have searched its depths, historians have debated its secrets, and millions have followed every clue. But now, everything may have changed. A shocking Season 13 leak has surfaced online, and according to insiders close to the production, History Channel may have kept one discovery hidden from the public. And no, we're not talking about gold, silver, or another ordinary treasure find. At first, fans dismissed the leak as just another rumor, another Bobby Dazzler, another tunnel, another mysterious piece of wood pulled from the money pit. But as leaked production details began matching footage from Season 13, a very different picture started to emerge, one that could completely rewrite the Oak Island story forever. If these reports are true, Rick and Marty Lagina may have uncovered evidence pointing to something far bigger than pirate treasure. Something historians were never supposed to connect to Oak Island. Ancient religious artifacts, hidden underground structures, Templar theories, and a discovery that many viewers believe was deliberately downplayed on television. Before we reveal the leaked details and examine the evidence, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. If you're fascinated by ancient mysteries, hidden history, and unexplained discoveries, you won't want to miss what's coming next. So what exactly did the leak reveal? Why are fans accusing History Channel of hiding the truth? And could Season 13 finally expose what's really buried beneath Oak Island? Stay with us, because the final leaked detail changes everything. For more than 200 years, Oak Island has attracted adventurers, treasure hunters, believers, and skeptics from around the world. Generations have spent fortunes chasing its secrets, digging deeper and deeper in search of answers. Over the years, they uncovered strange clues, waterlogged wooden structures, pieces of coconut fiber where none should exist, and a handful of old coins. Every discovery hinted that something important might be hidden beneath the island, but none provided the proof everyone was looking for. Then a surprising rumor began circulating. According to a source allegedly connected to the production team, something remarkable happened during the off-season, long after most of the crew had left the island. A small technical team was reportedly conducting routine sonar surveys near the garden shaft when they noticed something unexpected. At first, they assumed it was a malfunction. The image appearing on their screens looked too clear, too precise to be real. To be certain, they repeated the scan multiple times. Yet every result showed exactly the same thing. Buried more than 140 feet below the surface was what appeared to be a perfectly shaped rectangular chamber. This wasn't a vague anomaly or an unusual rock formation. It looked unmistakably man-made. Think about what that means. Constructing a hidden room at that depth would be an enormous engineering challenge even today. Accomplishing it centuries ago would require extraordinary planning, resources, and technical knowledge. Whoever created it wasn't simply digging underground. They were building something intended to last. The reported dimensions of the chamber were approximately 10 feet wide and 15 feet long. While not massive, it was clearly large enough to serve a specific purpose. But the chamber itself wasn't the biggest surprise. According to the leak, sonar readings revealed 3 large rectangular objects resting neatly inside. The density readings suggested solid metal. Each object was said to be about the size of a traditional treasure chest, measuring roughly 4 feet in length. Naturally, discoveries like this often lead to speculation. But what truly captured attention was the structure surrounding the chamber. Reports claim that its interior walls were coated with a thin metallic layer, unlike anything previously identified on Oak Island. Investigators reportedly ruled out ordinary corrosion or random debris. The material appeared smooth, uniform, and intentionally applied. And that raises an important question. How could a structure buried so deep survive for such a long period of time? At depths exceeding 140 feet, underground pressure becomes immense. Wooden chambers would normally collapse, decay, or be destroyed over the centuries. Yet this structure reportedly remains intact. Some believe the metallic lining may be the reason. The material appears to have acted as a protective barrier, shielding the chamber from groundwater intrusion and environmental damage. Soil samples collected nearby allegedly contained traces of the same unusual metal, suggesting that the lining was not an illusion or scanning error. If these reports are accurate, then this discovery represents far more than a hidden vault. It could be a sealed historical capsule, preserved for centuries by a level of engineering nobody expected to find beneath Oak Island. And that's where the story becomes even more extraordinary, because the design, materials, and apparent sophistication of the chamber don't seem to fit within the accepted timeline of the island's history. If authentic, the structure may point to knowledge and construction techniques far beyond what historians currently associate with early activity on Oak Island. Perhaps the island's greatest secret wasn't hidden inside the money pit after all. Perhaps it has been sitting quietly nearby the entire time, concealed beneath layers of earth and stone, waiting for modern technology to uncover it. And if this 140-foot-deep chamber proves to be genuine, it may not simply change the Oak Island mystery. It could force us to rethink a much larger chapter of history. But what happened next shocked even the most experienced researchers. When preliminary analysis of the metallic traces reportedly came back, the results raised an entirely new set of questions. The material wasn't iron. It wasn't bronze. Instead, investigators allegedly identified a lead-silver alloy. At first glance, that might not sound particularly exciting, but to historians and archaeologists, the discovery could be enormously significant. That's because alloys with similar chemical signatures have often been associated with ancient Roman metalworking techniques. The Romans were among the most skilled engineers of the ancient world. Their expertise in construction, metallurgy, and infrastructure allowed them to build structures that survived for thousands of years. Historical records show that similar lead-silver combinations were sometimes used in major Roman projects, from water systems and protective linings to burial chambers intended to preserve important individuals and artifacts. Producing such materials required advanced smelting methods, careful refinement processes, and technical knowledge that was exceptionally sophisticated for its era. Which brings us to an obvious question. How could a material linked to Roman engineering traditions end up buried deep beneath a small island off the coast of Nova Scotia? That single question is now at the center of growing speculation surrounding Oak Island, because suddenly several older discoveries seem a lot more interesting. Items that were once dismissed as isolated curiosities, including a reported Roman-style pilum fragment and a coin that some researchers believed might have ancient origins, are being viewed through a completely different lens. For years, critics argued that such objects could have arrived through later visitors, collectors, or accidental contamination. But if the chamber and its unusual alloy are real, those explanations become harder to accept. Instead of random coincidences, these discoveries begin to look like pieces of a much larger puzzle. And if that puzzle points toward Roman influence or knowledge reaching the region centuries before conventional history suggests, the implications would be enormous. Mainstream historical understanding has long maintained that there is no conclusive evidence of direct Roman contact with North America, yet the discoveries being discussed don't seem to fit comfortably within that framework. What once looked like scattered clues may now be forming a coherent pattern. And if that pattern continues to grow stronger, Oak Island may be hiding more than treasure. It may be preserving evidence of a journey that historians never thought was possible. What emerges from all of this is the picture of a carefully organized operation, something planned with precision, carried out deliberately, and built by people who possessed remarkable technical skills and long-term vision. But according to reports circulating among those close to the investigation, the mystery may go even deeper. One theory gaining attention suggests that the chamber may not have been constructed by the Romans themselves. Instead, it could be linked to a group that inherited fragments of Roman knowledge after the empire faded from history. The name most often mentioned? The Knights Templar. At first glance, that idea sounds like the kind of theory you'd expect from a historical thriller. Yet many researchers continue to discuss it because it appears to connect several puzzling pieces of the Oak Island story. Throughout history, the Templars have been associated with safeguarding sacred objects, protecting valuable knowledge, and preserving secrets that survived the turmoil of the medieval world. Some historians have even speculated that the order may have retained engineering concepts, architectural methods, and symbolic traditions that originated during the Roman era. If there's any truth to that possibility, a fascinating scenario begins to emerge. Perhaps centuries after Rome's collapse, groups carrying fragments of that ancient knowledge used it to create something, not simply a hiding place for valuables, but a carefully engineered sanctuary, an isolated vault designed to preserve something of immense significance far from the political struggles and religious conflicts of Europe. And when you think about it, an isolated island in the North Atlantic would be the perfect location. The deeper researchers examine the details, the more intriguing the connections become. The chamber's precise construction, the durability of its metallic lining, the neatly arranged objects detected inside, and the overall sophistication of the design all seem to point toward a single, coordinated purpose rather than random activity. It's almost as though two worlds are overlapping. Roman engineering traditions combined with the secrecy and symbolism often associated with the Templars. If that's the case, then the entire Oak Island narrative changes once again. Maybe Rick and Marty Lagina haven't been chasing pirate treasure at all. Maybe they've uncovered traces of something much older and far more significant, a hidden chain of history stretching from the decline of Rome to the legends surrounding the Templars, and possibly even to forgotten chapters of early North American exploration. If even a portion of these claims turns out to be accurate, Oak Island ceases to be merely a treasure hunt. It becomes a place where accepted history itself could be challenged. And that's where another fascinating clue enters the picture: Nolan's Cross. Most people know the Templars for their wealth, military campaigns, and religious influence, but they were also masters of secrecy. Their greatest advantage wasn't simply hiding valuable things, it was creating systems that concealed the truth behind layers of symbols, coded meanings, and intentional misdirection. That's why some researchers have started asking a provocative question. What if the famous money pit was never the true destination? What if it was designed to distract everyone from the real objective? According to recently leaked information, the newly identified Roman-style chamber isn't located directly beneath the traditional money pit area. Instead, it appears to sit at a separate location, positioned in a way that aligns closely with a previously overlooked geometric point connected to Nolan's cross. What's particularly interesting is that the chamber isn't located at the center of the formation. It's positioned near an outer marker, a location that would only appear significant if someone understood the larger design hidden within the cross itself. This has inspired an even more ambitious theory. Perhaps the chamber isn't the ultimate vault at all. Instead, it could serve as an intermediate structure, a ceremonial chamber, a symbolic waypoint, or even a carefully prepared burial site connected to something deeper. When viewed from this perspective, many of Oak Island's unusual features begin to look different. The elaborate flood tunnels, the defensive mechanisms, and the countless obstacles that have frustrated treasure hunters for generations may not have been intended to protect gold or silver. After all, precious metals can be moved. But sacred objects, historical records, or items considered irreplaceable carry a completely different kind of value, and that's where the speculation becomes even more intriguing. For centuries, legends have linked the Knights Templar to some of Christianity's most famous relics, the Holy Grail, the Ark of the Covenant, and ancient documents believed to contain lost or suppressed knowledge. Whether those stories are true remains a matter of debate. But if an organization truly intended to protect something of that importance, it likely wouldn't rely on an ordinary underground hiding place. It would create a structure filled with symbolism, precision, and deliberate design. Suddenly, the concept of a sealed Roman-style chamber begins to make a lot more sense, and perhaps the contents aren't treasure in the traditional sense at all. Instead of gold, the chamber could contain reliquaries, specialized containers designed to preserve objects of exceptional spiritual, historical, or cultural significance. If that's the case, then the meaning of Oak Island's treasure changes completely. The mystery stops being about wealth and becomes something much larger, a story about history, belief, and the preservation of knowledge across centuries. Interestingly, this theory also appears to connect with clues explored during Season 12, involving the Knights of Malta, an organization often viewed by some researchers as a continuation of traditions associated with the Templars. Viewed through that lens, the entire puzzle begins to resemble a carefully constructed system. The island itself becomes a lock. Nolan's cross becomes a key, and the newly discovered chamber becomes one of several hidden mechanisms required to reveal whatever lies deeper beneath the surface. If that interpretation is correct, then even the money pit takes on a completely different role. Rather than serving as the final destination, it may have been designed as a giant diversion, an elaborate trap intended to consume time, resources, and attention, while keeping explorers focused far away from the true objective. The implications are astonishing. Such a strategy would require planning on a scale measured not in years, but in centuries. And remarkably, it appears to have succeeded. Generations of treasure hunters have concentrated their efforts on the same location, while other parts of the island remained comparatively overlooked, which leads to the biggest question of all. If the money pit was never the real target, then what exactly were its builders trying so hard to protect? That's where another side of the modern Oak Island mystery comes into focus, because the investigation extends far beyond what viewers see on television. Behind every episode exists a vast network of researchers, independent analysts, theorists, and dedicated followers examining maps, comparing historical records, studying satellite imagery, and debating new discoveries. What appears on screen may only be a small glimpse of a much larger investigation unfolding behind the scenes. Beyond the television episodes, an entire world of independent research has emerged around the Oak Island mystery. Across online forums, research communities, and dedicated discussion groups, thousands of people spend countless hours analyzing every new clue that becomes public. These aren't simply fans watching from the sidelines. Many of them actively investigate the mystery themselves, using satellite images, LiDAR data, historical maps, archival records, and geographic modeling to test theories and search for connections. They compare evidence, challenge accepted assumptions, and constantly explore alternative explanations for what may be hidden beneath the island. In some cases, these independent researchers have even identified possibilities before they appeared in the official investigation. Take the French line theory, for example. The concept connecting Nolan's Cross to specific locations in Europe didn't emerge solely from the television series. It evolved through years of community discussions, collaborative analysis, and detailed research conducted by enthusiasts. The same can be said for theories surrounding the swamp. Long before it became a major focus of the on-screen search, many followers of the mystery had already suggested that the area could hold critical clues. Over time, these communities have developed into something remarkable, a parallel research network operating alongside the official investigation. What's particularly fascinating is the relationship that has formed between the two. The show presents new discoveries. Viewers around the world examine every detail. Fresh interpretations emerge. Then some of the most compelling ideas appear to influence future lines of inquiry. Whether intentional or not, the process has become increasingly interactive. The investigation no longer feels like information flowing in a single direction. Instead, it resembles an ongoing exchange between the team on the island and a global audience determined to solve the puzzle alongside them. And according to speculation circulating among those following the production closely, even the rumored Roman-style chamber may have connections to theories that first appeared years ago in obscure online discussions and niche historical debates. Whether that's a coincidence or evidence of converging research remains impossible to know. But it highlights something important, not only the most technically challenging, but potentially the riskiest operation the team has ever attempted. Because for the first time, they may be closer than ever to reaching the very thing that generations of treasure hunters, historians, and researchers have spent centuries searching for.